So today I'm going to talk about this Japanese television series, Alice in Wonderland, and I watched this series recently, and it consists of two seasons. I think the first season was made in 2020, and the second season was made in 2022, and the third season is announced, and it will be aired maybe into 2025. Anyway, this series is of genre like survival games. For those who are familiar with this genre, the movies like Saw franchise or Hunger Games franchise belong to this genre when some people are set into the game, and they need to participate in this game, and they need to perform under some particular rules, and then they need to win and to live further. But if they lose, they will die. If they lose, they will die. I think this genre started much earlier than the Saw and Hunger Games, and even the Battle Royale, which is the anti-utopian book of some Japanese author published in 2000, and it was about the future world where the world was divided into different areas, and Japan became the Japan Imperial, something like that, and it was totalistic state, and to hold people, to keep people in fear and in obedience. The government created each year these battle royale games when from each school, or maybe from 50 schools throughout all the countries, some particular class was chosen, and the students of this class had to participate in these battle royale games, and they had to kill each other until the last student was left, and the student became the winner. And all these games were created to make people think that to survive, to live, they need to rely only on themselves without trust in anyone else. This was the way to divide the society in this totalitarianistic state and keep people under control. And the Battle Royale book is about the events of this Battle Royale in some particular school, when two participants survived, a boy and a girl. They survived through their own game, but they remained fugitives in the world, because surviving both of the players was against the law. Anyway, the Hunger Games were about the future America, USA, when the USA was divided into 17 states, and the people and all the states were poor, and all the people from the states no, two teens, kids or just teens from each state were chosen each year, and 26 of them participated in this Hunger Games yearly each year, and only one survivor could be. But in this game were two survivors, a girl and a boy, and then the author created, Susan Collins created the second book and the third book about the whole revolution against this total regime, and this book sounds exactly like the copy from this Japanese battle royale, but Susan Collins said that she never read the battle royale book, and she could be honest, because the battle royale and the Hunger Games, they all based on the concept of ancient Rome's gladiators battle, when people fought, slaves fought against each other to live and to entertain the people who enslaved them. Anyway, another movies in this genre, The Saw, when this talented engineer created different mechanisms, and he put people who were dishonest in their life, who were some criminals, he put them into these mechanisms, and they had only 1 minute to cut off the leg or the arm, or take out the eye, and get out of the eyelid, for example, the key, and to take off the collar from the neck. Or if they couldn't do it, or if it took them too much time, they will be killed with the skull, like the head will be cut off. So this was the type of the game when they could redeem their sins. And there were the Cube series, when some people were put into some strange environment like the Cube, and they moved from one cubic sector to another within this cube, and they had some tasks to do, and it looked like some aliens put these people into this cube, because the technologies were kind of advanced, and we really didn't have the answer why these people were put in this cube, but the idea was created. And then there were lots of mangas when students at some particular school must participate in some particular games and survive or die without much explanation who was the creator of these games, or with the explanations that these games were set by aliens, because no human technology could create such games. And Alice in Borderland, the manga and the series I want to talk about, had the same setting, like the people from Japan were put into the parallel reality in the same city where they lived, but this city was kind of abandoned, and they should participate in some games against other people, and they earn some quota of days to live forward. And if they finished the quota, they were killed by the beams of light by some lasers that were shot from the sky. And this Alice in Borderland manga was created, I think, about somewhere between 2010 and 2014. And then in 2009, another series were kind of dreamed of, had some project about themselves, but the creator of the series couldn't find the sponsors, the money to make this series, and only in 2019 Netflix sponsored this Korean author as the part of the program to put money into international development of movies and TV series for the channel. And this way Netflix sponsored and created the Squid Game. And the Squid Game has the same setting with the game when people died if they lost, but only one will survive, and he or she will learn lots of money. But the setting was more realistic, because all the games were kind of real. They included some elements with guns, lots of money involved into creating these games, but they were quite real. They were set by very rich people, and those who participated in these games, they died, or if they were injured, they usually died later, not just like they were all shot from the automatic gun, and then they were just lying and waiting till the next series, till the next episode, when they will be running again on their legs. In any case, this Squid Game was set in the possible real games that need lots of money. It's not like the games were created by aliens or something. And they were very popular, and the same year, or maybe a year later, the Japanese series, live action TV series based on this Alice in Borderland manga, was created, maybe because of the success of the Squid Game, and this was the Japanese answer, like respond to this Korean series. And the both seasons of this Japanese series were based on the manga Alice in Borderland, and the both seasons used the whole material from this manga, and they because they were set in this kind of artificial environment. Of course, they were not so successful as the Squid Game. They were not, let's say, so original for many people, and they were not so realistic because of this lots of injuries, when some people just almost died, and then just the next episode they walked away and lived their lives and were happy. But the idea is that this Japanese series were produced by Netflix as well, and they became the most watched Japanese TV series on the Netflix. The same goes with the Squid Game, that became the most watched Korean series on Netflix and the most watched Netflix series of all time. They even defeated some all of American TV series on Netflix that were created before, and so this Japanese series, and in particular the second season of Alice in Borderland, became the most successful Japanese TV series on Netflix. And it's mostly because of this action-oriented nature of the series itself. So, or themselves. So, what this stuff is about and why it is so cool. Yeah, I watched this stuff like the first 3-4 episodes of the first season, and then the next 4 episodes, because the whole series consisted of 8 episodes. The last 4 episodes were not so cool, because when the first 4 episodes were about more individual games, the second half of the first season was about some particular the beach place where lots of people were gathered together, and there was some manager who ruled over this place, and he had a small army who protected him and had a control over this place, and they set the rules for this place and for the people who wanted to live in it, and the place was quite well organized, and most of these people who lived in this place, they participated in games. They got the quota for their lives, but they got the prize, which was the card from the usual deck of cards, like diamonds, spades, heart, and clubs, and with different numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and everyone who was in the universe of this game, who cleared the game, everyone got this card. And when one person collected all the cards, all these number cards for all 4 kinds, spades, diamonds, hearts and clubs, then they moved to the next level, and then when they collected all the person's card, like jacks, queens, and kings, they could leave this universe and return back to their life. But all these 4 episodes with this the club, the beach sport place was kind of messy. Lots of people. There was one big event in the end of the season, but they put so many action in it, so many fighting, and this was so unreal that I just skipped all the stuff, and I didn't. I'm not sorry about it. Kind of не жалею about this. Okay. In any case, the second season was even worse for me because it was more action oriented, and lots of battles were really unreal when the people were almost killed by the knives or by the guns, and they just continued to walk, to speak, to live as nothing happened to them. And the competitions for these cards were not so interesting as they were in the first 4 episodes. Well, later I read some reviews and I discovered that there were a couple of games that were quite cool because they were more about psychology and trust than about this action. And I watched these games separately and they were really cool and I liked them. So they are the best games for this second season and maybe for the whole 2 seasons in general. So now I'm going to talk about what? About the plot of this series in particular. The guy. Oh, okay. First about this analogy with Alice in Borderland, because I watched almost the whole series, and I wondered who was this Alice, why she was in this Borderland, and what was that about, and what that was about. And the main character, the guy, was named Arisu in Japanese, and he with his 2 friends were kind of guys who didn't want to study in the university, who didn't think about the future, and they were transported into this area in the Tokyo, but without people, and they had to participate in these games to get some quotas. And later these 2 guys were killed during the game, and this Arisu met the girl Usagi, and they continued to participate, and then they met at the beach place some other guys, and they kind of separated, and then they met again, and they all participated through all the games, and they always won the games. And in the end of the second season, they were all gathered together before Arisu and Usagi participated in the last game. And when they finally finished this game, they learned that there was no answer who was behind all this stuff, who created what aliens or something created this universe and killed people with this technology and so on, because the last the last manager of the last game, she told several theories, like there was all their imagination because they were in the state of coma, and androids were all over the world, and they were put into coma because they were in the state of dying, and the memories, they had these implanted memories and all other stuff. And the other theory was about the aliens who really put them into this universe and so on. The next theory was about Arisu being in the psychiatric clinic, and Usagi and other patients, and all these managers of the games were just psychiatrists of these clinics. So she didn't give them any suitable answer, and But Arisu, with the help of Usagi, they cleared the game, and this manager died. And then the Joker came, the guy or something, the being that represented the main card, the Joker, and he gave Arisu and Usagi and other people who remained alive in this world the choice to stay in this game, in this world, to be the citizens of this game, and to fight against new players who will be put into this universe from the real world, or return back to the real world, to the real Japan, but with all the injuries they got during this game. And Arisu, Usagi, and other people voted as a majority, because some guys wanted to stay. So the majority voted to return back to Japan and to create all these injuries or so many deaths for the people who didn't survive these games. The huge meteorite was brought to Tokyo, and lots of people died in the radius of 10 kilometers where this meteorite fell, but lots of people survived, those who survived during the games. And when they got the injuries, like the girl stayed without her leg and other stuff, they all got these injuries from this meteorite. And I think they didn't remember what happened to them during these alternative universe games. And Arisu forgot, and the author of the manga, and the last episode of this series showed us all the people who survived during these games in the alternative universe, and they were all put into hospital. They didn't know each other, but we knew them. And Arisu forgot about Usagi, but when they met somewhere near the coffee machine, they had the feeling of meeting somewhere, and they just and Arisu kind of supposed make aloud. He decided to date Usagi, and she agreed. Yeah, and well, this is the main difference between the manga and the TV series, because manga finishes at this point. Like the chapter before the last chapter was about this meteorite strike, about all of them being in the hospital, and the last chapter was about 2 years later, and some reporter took interviews from the people in the streets of Tokyo, and she asked these people about their purpose of life, and they answered her different things. And the last guy she asked was this Arisu, and he answered, but we didn't know. It was in the manga, and he answered, and we didn't know what was his answer. But then he walked and phoned to his girlfriend, to Usagi, and she was the mount climber in her previous life, and she continued to climb mountains on the weekends, and she put him into this activity. But he changed after this artificial games. Then he didn't want to do anything. He didn't want to have any profession and to do something with his life. But after this game, he went into psychology university, and he was writing the diploma or something on psychology. Because in the alternative universe where they played games, she was good at physical games, and he was good in these intellectual games, psychological games. And this is a very good, very bright and promising, mood lifting, mood raising ending for this whole series that were about killing lots of people, really. Lots of random people, or lots of people that we know from the series. And this ending kind of makes you think about the purpose of your life, really. Gives you a reason to answer this question about the purpose of your life yourself, even if your purpose is about just for a year or for 2 years in the future, and that's all right. But in the TV series, when all the people were gathered in this hospital, and Arisu met Usagi, and they kind of started dating, all the cards were blown from the table by the wind, and only one card, Joker, remained on the table. This was the link to the potential the third season, if the second season would be quite successful, and it was. So they are now creating the second season, but it won't be based on manga, and it could be worse than the first 2 seasons, or it can be quite well. But the whole material will be original, and because most of the games were based on the cards, and all the 4 categories of cards were corresponding to some types of the games. Let's see, spades were about physical activities, clubs were mixed games about teamwork, diamond, I think, was about trust and betrayal, and hearts maybe, and hearts were about psychology, or maybe vice versa. Diamond was about psychology, and hearts about trust and betrayal. But the number on the card was the difficulty of the game. So ace or 2, 3 were the simplest games, and 9 and 10 were the strongest games. And when in the second season the games were about Jack, Queen, and the King, these games were the strongest, the most difficult to win. And because all the 52 cards from the deck were used, only one Joker remains in this TV series. So it's kind of interesting how the creators of this series will find the way to use these cards again, or something like that. I think the series will be worth watching, and maybe I will read the comments first. Anyway, this was the short plot of the series, but I wanted to say about the correspondence between Alice and in Borderland and the story itself. So who is Alice? Where is Alice? And in Japan, Arisu is Alice, because they have no this R, L, letter, L sound, so they use Arisu. And really their alphabet is consisted of syllables, like not just R, B, C like in English, but Ba, Bi, Ku, Ki. They have no just single letter, except for with exception of N, N. So the ending S in Japanese sounds like su, but Arisu. So Alice in Borderland is actually Arisu in Borderland, and Usagi, which is the name familiar for me because Usagi Tsukino from Sailor Moon is called Usagi, and Usagi means a rabbit in Japanese. So Alice is Arisu and a rabbit is Usagi. This girl is kind of the guide for this Arisu boy, like the rabbit was a guide for Alice in the original book. And this manager of the beach place, he was really Heta, and he was called Heta because in the real life he had a shop where he sold hats, so he was the Heta. That's all about the analogy between Alice, of course, and all these cards, and the last game when Arisu and Usagi defeated the manager and they returned back to the real Japan. The game was against the Queen of Hearts, and they played croquet. Some kind of croquet, as Alice played with the Queen of Hearts in the book. So this is all the information about this series in general, and I have to say that I liked this series more than the manga. Though the manga is more kind of realistic because considerate maybe, because the series use almost the same games, but in all these games the participants for these games are always from the main cast of the series. In the manga, different people played in these games, and sometimes all these people died. But in the TV series, the main cast went through these games and survived. So these games are more action-oriented, and that's cool for the screen itself, but with this the games are more unrealistic. Like in the last game, the second to the last game, with the King of Spades. This game was about shooting into each other with the guns, and the purpose was to kill this King of Spades who had the automatic gun. And in the manga it was about him fighting against maybe four random people, and they managed to kill him. But in the movie, he fought against all the characters all the characters who survived in this series, and he shot with the gun in the stomach, in the chest, all the girls from this final episode, and he stabbed other girls with the knife, and all were, I thought that they were all killed by this stuff, but they just survived because in the manga they were not the participants of this game, and they survived and reached the final anyway. So these are minor differences between the manga and the TV series, and these differences make the series more unrealistic than the manga in general, more action-packed, but without TV series, without the actors who played the particular roles, it was difficult for me to read the manga because the drawing was not so clean, so beautiful, and it was difficult for me to distinguish these characters from one another in these 60 chapters of manga, because the author draw more schematic than realistic, and it's easier for me to distinguish the real Japanese characters with their haircuts, with their dresses and their faces, than these not very clear faces and characters of the manga. So I managed to read through manga after I watched TV series, when I knew who was some particular character in the manga. But reading just through the manga itself, it's kind of difficult, because the author usually left some characters at some place, then he talked about some side stories, and then he returned back to the characters, and you had to remember who was that character maybe 3, 5, or even 10 chapters ago. With the movie it was quite easy, because all the characters were back together, and they moved through each episode, and through each episode you observed all the characters, so you never forgot who the characters were. That was kind of easier, because there were lots of characters, and most of them died in the manga, and it was difficult to remember which of them were the main group of characters, and who will be just temporary, and then they will die. In any case, the manga and the live action adaptation was quite cool, and I hope that the third season will be as interesting as the second and the first seasons were. And I think that this manga is really cool. It has a lot of psychological stuff in it, when the game were about psychology, trust and betrayal, and they had lots of action-oriented stuff. So the manga is at more high level than just simple shonen mangas, when the main character or the group of characters just fought against lots of enemies and just raised their level. So this manga is kind of must read if you're interested in the manga genre as well, at all. And it's kind of difficult because of all these characters who were included and then removed from the plot of this manga. So the manga is better for reading after watching this TV series, or learning about the plot in general, so you could orient in all the characters and all the times and actions that the manga had. In any case, this is an interesting material to learn about and to make the part of your fictional world, fictional universe, in addition to, let's say, Harry Potter, Twilight, Hunger Games, Lord of the Rings, and other fictional stuff, which is quite cool and which is interesting to return to from time to time and refresh this story in your minds. Refresh these stories in your mind. So that's all I wanted to say about Alice in Borderland for today.